What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA channel. This one is once again on Rampage Jackson and him speaking out in the media about this crazy thing that his son Raja Jackson did about, I think, 12 days ago is now the count. And of course, a lot of us are waiting and or expecting Raja to eventually be charged by LAPD and be arrested and so on and so forth. So we're waiting for that to happen. Meanwhile, against the advice of his attorneys, Rampage Jackson goes on and does almost like a 50-minute interview with Ariel Helwani. And what this video is about, I know a lot of people are giving him backlash, beating up on him for certain things that he said. I want you guys to zoom out and think about this from a different perspective, because Rampage, in my opinion, deserves so much credit for going on Ariel's show, doing this against the advice of attorneys, and in my opinion, really trying to do the right thing. And I'm going to show you as we go through. I've pulled out a bunch of clips that I'm going to show you guys, illustrating exactly why I do think Rampage deserves a ton of credit for not doing the legally, let's say, careful or strategic move, but just coming out and doing the right thing and saying the right thing. Now, I know people have criticized him for trying to say, hey, if Syko Stu would have never done this, then this would never happen. Even I said that. He shouldn't have said that, because it's like you can't look at the entire string and chain of events like, oh, well, then somebody pissed him off in the morning, and then did that contribute? It doesn't work like that. You have responsibility in that case for your actions, especially when there was a cool-off period. So there's no crime of passion situation here. He said a couple other things as well, maybe saying that his son deserves jail time, but not prison time. Again, usually prison is reserved for charges over a year. So I think he's feeling as though the charges or the jail time should be under a year. He should go to jail for a period of time. Look, he's not an attorney. He's not a police officer. He doesn't necessarily know the law or what he will be charged with and what are the potential consequences. He may be right. This might be what his attorneys are telling him that is likely going to happen for Raja. He may only face like 100 or 200 days in jail. I don't know. But anyways, I know people are beating up on him there. I don't think it's fair to give him so much criticism for those couple of statements, but he really should be getting a ton of credit, because I guarantee you his attorneys did not want him to come out and say these things, because a lot of the things he says is going to make it much more difficult and much worse for Raja. But in my opinion, Rampage is coming out, and he'll say it multiple times in the interview, to be real, to just lay it all out there from start to finish. I have so much respect for that, because I don't think any other parent in this situation would want to do this. And you might say, last thing I'll say, you might say that, well, Rampage is not being a good father. He should defend his son through thick and thin. I think what he's doing right now is in the best interest of his son. He feels his son needs ramifications. He needs consequences, and he thinks that the legal system should dole out those consequences. And look, everybody's going to have a different take on what you think a parent should do or whatever. And I said this before, I'm not a parent. I am not here to criticize his parenting decisions. It's such a complicated thing, and nobody knows his son like him. And so to me, I think he's taking a moral stance. He's saying he did wrong. He needs to face the consequences. He's not trying to get him out. He's not trying to rescue him. He's just laying it all out there factually, truthfully. And I honestly wish more people in our society would do these, would just own up to stuff like this, as opposed to just being like, let me minimize my jail sentence, or let me minimize my repercussions or consequences. No, just, yo, this is what it is. I'll take what may come. I will accept my fate. So anyways, I think he should get a lot of credit for that. Now let's step through all the clips. Now that we've tied up the intro, the first thing is this little clip. Rampage just is at the beginning talking about how he has been experiencing all the blowback, and people are really coming after Rampage for this. Now, one thing I criticize Rampage for in one of his streams is, to me, the sort of saying like, I didn't do this. Why are people acting like I did it? I thought that was a little different from what I would expect, because I feel like most parents, even if they didn't commit it, that's not where their mind would go. They would actually probably feel responsible for the actions of their children, and they would put the blame on themselves. So it seemed like he was going in a different direction. It is what it is. Everybody's going to have a different response and reaction to this. In his defense, his son is grown. His son is 25. So I understand. But anyways, this is the first clip that I wanted to share. We're going in chronological order of the interview. So this is him saying, hey, man, it's crazy. It's been crazy. People are acting like I did this when it was my son. Check it out.
But what has life been like for you since that date?
It's been crazy, man. Like, people act like I fucking did it.
You're getting a lot of heat.
I'm getting like I beat somebody's ass.
Do you understand why people are coming after you because it is your son, or do you think it's unfair?
I honestly, I think this has happened in pro wrestling before. What Roger did was uncalled for, and I know it affected a lot of people, but I didn't fucking do it. Like, because he's my son, and his father is a public figure.
And he's probably right. It is probably because he is a public figure and people know him. They don't know his son, so they're coming after him. And again, he is a grown up. He's responsible for his consequences. But I think Ariel was trying to get to the heart of that question. Do you understand why people are looking at you? You trained him, you raised him, etc., to put some of the blame on you. He doesn't exactly answer it, but then he goes on to say, look, at the end of the day, he did it and it's coming on me because I'm a public figure. It's probably not exactly that. But anyways, it is what it is. Let's keep it going because I do think that he should deserve credit for that little statement in the mix there where he's like, look, it was messed up what he did. He's not trying to justify it. I think there's that tiny bit of justification he's providing. Hey, if Syko Stu would have never smashed the beer can, this would have never happened. But for the most part, he's not really defending it. And I, for one, appreciate that. All right, moving on to the next clip. People assume I will defend Raja because that's what normally, like 99.9% of the cases, the parents will say nothing. They'll hire attorneys and they will protect and defend their son. They'll try and get as little jail time or prison time as possible. He's not doing this. Again, it needs to be pointed out, and he needs major credit for this. Check this out.
And people automatically assume that I'm going to defend my son and I'm going to like try to pay people off and get them out of trouble. I'm just as mad as Roger as they are. I'm just as mad because Roger lied to me because I was live streaming when he got hit over the head with the can, and I called him. I was like, son, what's going on? Like, what you doing? And he didn't tell me nothing about them working him into a match so he can get his revenge, so he can get his payback. Because he know I would have told him take his ass home. Because the day before he just almost got knocked out in the gym.
So there you go. He's not defending Raja. And he does mention there too, people think I'm going to pay this guy off or try and do something. He talks more about this later on in the interview, which I didn't include this clip, but he's like, look, obviously I'm not trying to pay somebody hush money because he's like, that's illegal. I'm not doing that. I said this in my response to Chael Sonnen's crazy take video where Chael's like, I think he's going to get a payment. And just, again, we got to stop listening to Chael Sonnen. It is a real problem that he goes out there and spouts nonsense without any backing, any idea of anything, any research whatsoever. It's really dangerous. I know people in the comments were like, look, you can't blame Chael. He's a content creator. I can blame anybody. I think, forget about, he's not a journalist, but I don't think anybody should be misleading anyone. Why can't we all be real? Rampage is being real right here in this situation where his son's freedom is on the line. And I think we should all take responsibility for our words, whether we're journalists, content creators, whatever. I'm not up here trying to fabricate stuff. That's just how we should do things. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. Let's keep it going. Now, next, Rampage himself in this clip says Raja took it too far. Who would say this? And again, I guarantee you this is against the advice of his attorneys. He should get credit for this. Check this out.
Roger acted like he understood what Andre Munn said, and he took it to himself to hit him a little bit too much. Now, Roger was wrong. As soon as Syko Stu got knocked out from that slam, Roger should have like left him alone. He shouldn't have hit him no more. Like, all right, you got your payback and stuff like that. Roger took it too far.
Right there. And that's what I was saying in my reaction videos, multiple of them. When he hit him with that slam, even that was going too far. But you could say at least, okay, that's the payback. He misunderstood. He slammed him a little too hard. After that, he's unconscious. There's really no excuse, no defense for any of that. And Rampage is saying that himself. I, again, think it's absolutely incredible that he's coming out and just being real. It's like in our society, it's such a shock. It's such a rarity for somebody to come out and just be honest and just take the consequences as they may come. Just accept your fate. And nobody is mentioning this. So I'm going to mention it because I do think it needs mentioning. And I think while so many people are mad at Rampage, he should get a lot of respect for this. The next clip, I don't talk to Raja no more. So this was a little surprising to me because I thought he would be in communication with his son throughout this because it's probably the worst time of his life. And even Ariel's like, well, Ariel says, I didn't include this part, but Ariel's like, well, I would be in touch with my son, God forbid, if anything like this happened. I would never leave him out in the cold. It's the worst time of his life. But Rampage is just being real. He feels upset right now. And there's more to this story as well. It's not just like a one-off and he's cutting contact. And by the way, it's a temporary thing. But I understand where Rampage is coming from. He said his son never listens to him. He's been problematic. He's been trying to tell him to do things differently, and he won't listen. And now this has happened probably after trying to get him to change his behavior for probably his entire life, is my guess. And now he's had enough. And not only is the rest of the people mad at Raja, he's mad at Raja. So I can understand this. I don't know. Look, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Again, as I mentioned, I'm not a parent. I don't think my parents would ever do something like this to me. That being said, I don't think I've probably ever done the things that Raja's done to Rampage. You know, I've never done those types of things to my parents, right? It's a very nuanced and interesting situation. Anyways, my point is, this is the stance he's taken because he's mad as well. He's not sitting here trying to defend his son or get his son out of hot water. He's mad as well. Check this out.
How is he doing?
I don't know. I don't talk to Roger no more, so I don't know.
Since then,
I talked to him. I heard the story, and I heard some stuff, and then after that, you know, I learned a whole lot of stuff and about it and everything. Roger's wrong. He went against what I told him to do, and he hid the fact that he got roped into a pro wrestling store. Roger's not a pro wrestler. He's a fighter. He's not a pro wrestler. He had no business in that ring. Everybody there was wrong. And yes, my son took it too far, but he knows better. He knows he's wrong for getting involved in a pro wrestling match. You know, he wasn't supposed to do it. I told him he couldn't even go to the gym for 2 weeks.
There it is. And I think the big takeaway there is, again, he's not holding back his words. He's saying Raja was wrong. I have to believe this is not helping Raja's case, but he's willing to go out there and do it anyways. Now, some of you guys might be saying, well, Rampage is doing this to protect his own reputation and he's throwing his son under the bus. I don't think it's that. I believe him. I take him at his word. He wants to come out. He probably does maybe want to get some of the death threats off of his children. Okay, there's probably some truth to that. But I do believe, and he mentions this multiple times, I'm going to keep it real. I'm real. I'm going to be real. And this is him being real. This probably feels cathartic for him to get out there and talk, as opposed to listen to the attorneys who are like, nope, you got to stay silent. Because what do most people do in this situation? You don't hear a word from them. Rampage, again, I give him mad respect for doing this. All right, moving on to the next clip. We are waiting for an arrest warrant. He says this. This means he accepts that his son is likely going to go to jail. He's not trying to get him out of it. He's not trying to get him to avoid those consequences. Listen to this.
We've been waiting for arrest warrant. So when you get arrest warrant, I was going to turn him in. We've been waiting for arrest warrant or whatever. And I got him a turn. I did what my job is as a father to you know, still take care of my son, because I still love him, even though how upset I am at my son. I still love him. You know what I'm saying? He's my son, but ever since he's become an adult, he don't listen to shit I say, and you know, all I can do is like be a father. But Roger, know I keep it real. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to keep it real. I'm not going to lie for him and nothing like that. And he knows that I'm gonna give my opinion. He shouldn't have been in that ring. He shouldn't even. As soon as Syko Stu hit him in the head, he should have handled it right there.
There it is. Keeping it real. He said himself he would have turned him in. He would take him to prison once jail, excuse me, once an arrest warrant is out there. He's not trying to have him escape any consequences. Now, that last thing where he said when Syko Stu hit him, he should have just hit him right there and taken care of business or whatever. That actually would have been a different situation. I'm not saying he should have done that either. I don't think he should have done anything. I think he should have just taken it and left it alone if he wanted to file charges against Syko Stu or something like that, because that's not really the right answer either. That being said, that would probably be justified. Syko Stu would begin the engagement of violence or attack or whatever, even though he thought it was just playing along. But then you could justify it with the cool off period and everything like that, it's not justifiable. All right, moving on to the next clip. This is incredible that he did this, because I guarantee you with the attorneys probably said, for sure said, not probably, for sure said, do not call Syko Stu, do not call the family, nothing. Anything that you say can potentially be used against you. Don't say a word. He didn't care. He called him. He wanted to check on him because as a human being, he saw his son did wrong. He wanted to make sure, he wanted to talk to Syko Stu. I respect that. Check this out in his own words.
Storyline, but I just knew, Roger hurt him really bad. So I called him. I left him a voice message. He never called me back. And so I told him in the voicemail, I want to talk to him so I can hear his side of the story and everything, because I'm a dad. I want to make everything right. Syko Stu never got back in touch with me and everything. And then I'm hearing all this other stuff. The pro wrestlers are not meant to talk to the police and stuff like that because they were drinking backstage. Syko Stu was drunk. And like I said, I know people there that work there. I'm friends with one of them. Say Syko Stu, this is not the first time he's done stuff like this.
That's the only part. I really respect the fact that he called Syko Stu. The only part I'm not crazy about is he's trying. It's just not the right time. It is relevant to a very tiny, small extent that Syko Stu exhibited this behavior before and he was drinking and whatnot. But I don't think it's the right time to even bring this up because it sounds like you're trying to excuse Roger Jackson's behavior. I don't think you can excuse it regardless of what Syko Stu did. Even if Syko Stu yelled at him backstage, it doesn't excuse him going in there and trying to beat him the way that he did after he's unconscious. You know what I mean? So that's the one part. But at least what I will say is what I respect is Rampage tried to call Syko Stu and tried to make things right. He wanted to make things right. He's his father, like he said. Mad respect. Moving on. The can didn't hurt my son. He didn't need to say this. Guarantee you this will for sure hurt any chance of Raja Jackson being like, no, but he injured me. He's like, Raja admitted to Rampage that the can didn't hurt him. And I think you got to give him a ton of respect for even saying this, because it's not really, he didn't need to say this. He's already saying, I accept responsibility and whatever, but for him to go out and say this explicitly, which could for sure impact the investigation, the case and the charges and whatever, I think it should be recognized that, again, he's just keeping it 100. He just wants to be real. This is what his son told him, so he's disclosing it. Check it out.
People online arguing that it was a prop. That shouldn't even be the argument. It was a real can, but the argument it didn't hurt. My son said it didn't hurt. Syko Stu, he did it like a pro wrestler, so it wasn't like, my son got hurt from that. But the thing, what it was like he embarrassed him. Like he just hit him and didn't say anything to him. And then then you can see Syko Stu grab my son by the neck and stuff like that on the stream. My son felt very disrespected. He felt very disrespected, and he didn't like that. Like nobody would like that. But I'm not justifying what my son did.
I understand
what my son did. It did what Syko Stu. It didn't. His punishment didn't fit the crime.
There it is. I mean, he said it himself. The punishment that Roger doled out did not fit the crime. Nobody would like that, but he's not justifying it. And he goes out to say that the can didn't even hurt him. The attorneys are not going to tell you to say any of that, but he said it. Respect. Next, this is where he explicitly says, which is obvious because he's doing this interview, no attorney, criminal attorney, defense attorneys out there, you would not be advising Rampage to say anything, but he says himself, I stopped listening to attorneys because in my opinion, he just wants to do the right thing. Respect.
I stopped listening to the attorneys. I got really upset with all the death threats and all this stuff, and I wanted Syko Stu to tell his part that my son did not sneak up on him, and I never heard him say that. So now I'm upset. Now I'm upset. Now I'm upset with Syko Stu because he didn't come out and say, "Oh, whoa, yeah, what Roger did was fucked up," but he didn't sneak in the ring and do this. The shit was staged. That's all he had to say to get some of these racist ass motherfuckers out of my DMs.
And when you say, like, he hasn't said anything yet, you mean like a statement or something like that, right? He's saying all this shit, how it fucking blew up and stuff like that. He should at least said something. Okay.
Take some accountability. Like, honestly, everybody was wrong. Roger was the most wrong. Everybody was wrong, but none of this shit ever would have happened if Syko Stu never hit my son on the back of the head with a fucking can that they were drinking beer out of.
and then grabbed him by the fucking neck, asked him to fucking sell it. If that shit never happened, none of this shit never happened. And the promoters was wrong for putting an outsider inside of a motherfucking pro wrestling match. Everybody's wrong. It's the dumbest thing I ever fucking seen. It's a fucking.
He says it's a nightmare after that. Here, look, again, as I said, I think it's the wrong time to even be saying that because, again, it sounds like, I don't think it's what he's doing because he's still saying everything's wrong. My son was the most wrong, but it does feel as though you're trying to put some of the blame on Syko Stu, which I don't think it's fair. Another thing I want to say is he's mad that Syko Stu didn't come out and say, hey, we invite him into the ring. People thought he snuck into the ring. Nobody who's been following this case thinks that way. I guess there's people in his DMs thinking that Raja snuck in the ring, but they're just not. Everybody knows that it was staged in terms of him being involved. Now, obviously, it went way too far, beyond way too far, and we all accept that. And I don't even think Rampage is disputing that. But I think anybody with somewhat of a brain who's been mildly paying attention, we know that that's what happened. So you're probably just getting DMs from people who are just not paying attention whatsoever. Again, another point where he gets credit. He says himself, Raja should go to jail. Check this out.
I just know nothing like that. I'm not taking it up for my son. Any man that beats somebody like that in the ring, they should face some consequences. But I don't take kindly to people calling my son like a caged animal and say he don't got no undeveloped frontal lobe and stuff like that. I don't take that kindly because anybody in a race can explode when they're pushed. Anybody.
I saw the statement that you posted on Monday, and then in the comments you were saying to people that you think he should go to jail, right?
Yeah. If the judge thinks he should go to jail, yeah, I think Roger should go to jail so he'll learn not to do this shit no more. Like, you got to control your emotions, and I think I'm not saying like people saying he should go to jail for 10 years. No, he should go to jail and not prison. He should go to jail, do a little time, and then get some therapy, and learn from this. So, because this is what people don't understand. Like, when you train a martial art, you have great power. Like, you can hurt 99% of the population on the earth. You should know how to control that. Don't you know I get fucked with all the time? Do you know how many asses I want to beat? People that fuck with me.
So there you go. He thinks he should go to jail. Now, just to give you that distinction one more time, I mentioned at the beginning, when you say jail versus prison, it's usually for sentences under a year. I don't know what the legal system is going to decide, but we have a legal system for that reason. The judge will weigh his priors, if he has any. He's going to weigh the severity of the crime and whatever, and make a reasonable determination of what that sentence should be. Will it be more than a year? Will he have to go to prison? I don't know. I'm not really going to weigh in because I'm an attorney, but I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I don't practice anymore. So I'm not really in the loop in terms of what the standard protocol is with facts that are similar to this case. So I'm not going to weigh in, but whatever. My point is that whether or not Rampage has the sentencing right or the sentencing guidelines in his mind when he says this, he is saying that he should face consequences. He's not trying to run from those consequences or get his son protected from those consequences. You have to respect that. You got to respect it. Because most people, like the 99.9% of parents, would not do that, Next, he is asked by Ariel why he's cut off Raja, at least from communication, at least in the short term. Now, again, people are beating up on Rampage for his parenting and whatever. Again, I will say on my part, I am in no place to criticize or comment because I'm not in that situation. I don't know what it's like to be a parent. Sure, I can sit here and criticize and critique like most people, but things are very different when you're actually in the mix versus just observing from the side and you have no actual experience there. So I'm not going to say too much. But anyways, I thought this was an interesting clip where he explains, and I think it makes sense. Again, if people are trying to beat up on him, I think it makes sense what he's saying. He's tried for a long time to get Raja to change his behavior, to do things differently. It's not working. And so this is his only option. This is the only thing he feels he has at this point. Plus, he also goes on to say, I'm not cutting him off for forever. He's my son. But for the time being, we're not talking. Check it out.
Stated, you don't agree with what he did. You think he went too far. You have even said you think he should be arrested.
Right.
Why, despite that, why cut him off? Why not talk to him? Why not be there for him?
Well, I feel like I'm here for him. Like, I'm paying for his legal fees. I'm here for him for that. But listen, Roger, he want to be an adult. He want to do everything his way. He won't take my advice. I can't make Roger do anything. But Roger has been doing the opposite of whatever I've been telling him to do. So, this is me. He's my son. I love him dearly. But he's dishonored my name too, though. I'm highly. You guys, I can't even put in words how upset I am with my son. You know, he dishonored my name. You know, I've been in this sport for a long time, and when he did that, they're like, son of MMA, Rampage Jackson, goes out. That's my fucking name. You know, I don't do that shit. I don't go around beating up people on the street to a bloody pulp. I don't do that.
Everybody is so quick to criticize, to ridicule, to say he's a terrible person, terrible father, etc. That's my main thing is you just take a moment. Okay, I'm not saying he is or isn't or anything. I'm just saying in this case, he's made a decision that maybe people don't agree with, but nobody knows the full context of the situation, the nuances of their relationship, the things that he's tried over years and years of work of raising his son. Think about when people have kids that get into drugs and they become severe drug addicts. And then at some point, the family tries to help for years and years and years, and the kids won't listen. Then finally, they're just like, okay, I'm going to let him get arrested. I'm going to let him go to jail. You're right. That seems severe in nature. But sometimes when you try things for so long and nothing's ever resonating with your kids, sometimes you got to just be like, all right, I tried. We got to he's going to have to face the consequences of the world, not just me, because it's not working for me. You get what I'm saying? So again, all I'm saying is we don't have to jump to this crazy judgment and indictment of Rampage for doing this or not doing this with the son. It's a very complicated situation. Let's see where the cards may fall. But I can understand what he's saying. I can understand that he's saying he tried. Rogers doesn't want to listen. What are you going to do at some point? When your son's just, your child or somebody is just not listening to you at some point, you got to let whatever happens happen. This is the last clip that I wanted to share. Anyways, it's a crazy topic, and I've talked about how grossed out I was by the entire incident. I can't even watch it at all. Anytime I see clips of it, I just skip it because I don't want to see the actual footage. It's gross. It's disgusting. I said this before. Fans of MMA like myself, we don't want violence. People say they want violence. You don't want violence. That's violence. That's gross. It's disgusting. I want competition. That's what I want to see. And it's just been a really tricky ordeal. But I want to be fair in this case in my review on everything. And what's fair is fair. I think Rampage deserves a lot of credit for coming out, not listening to his attorneys, and just being real and just saying the truth. If more people, I'm not saying Rampage is an angel and perfect, but I will say if more people would just get out there and be real and be honest and not always try to maximize every dollar you make, not always try to escape every consequence so you have the least amount of jail. You know what I mean? Just be real and just take what is owed to you, accept your reality, accept your fate. I just think the world will be a lot better, Anyways, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think I'm off base? Do you think I'm right on? Do you think somewhere in between? Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for joining, and we'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.